Later. Right now, a stalemate at the United Nations, not one that's gone quietly. For the fourth time in as many days, diplomats gathered to draft a consensus statement on the fighting between Russia and Georgia. The dialogue hit, well, it got heated when the U.S. ambassador questioned Russia's true motives in this conflict. You don't hear blunt language like this very often.
I want to ask Ambassador Churkin, is your government's objective regime change in Georgia, the overthrow of the democratically elected government of Georgia?
We talked to our UN correspondent today. He said it was reminiscent at times of the 1960s during the Cold War arguments that would break out at the UN. As for Russia, it's pretty clear it wants Georgia's president out. I spoke with the Russian UN ambassador this weekend, and during that conversation, I came out and asked him flat out if his aim is, quote, to try and keep the peace. And if this really is a peacekeeping mission, then why the military aggression? Can you make the American people try and understand why it is that you invaded what seems to be a sovereign country?
Well, the Georgians in the past few days have launched a military assault on South Ossetia, a small republic with a small South Ossetian population of about 100. In the past 36 hours, they killed by shelling, by heavy artillery, 2,000 civilians in the capital city of Tskhinvali and completely razed to the ground 10 villages in the borderline between South Ossetia and Georgia.
So to be clear, what I'm hearing you say is that you have gone into a sovereign country to defend the South Ossetians against the Georgians.
We have certain responsibilities there as a peacekeeper under agreement signed between Georgia and South Ossetia back in 1992. So we perform our duty as a peacekeeper and are now involved in a peacemaking operation in order to make sure that genocide of South Ossetians does not happen.
Why did you not try the negotiation method first?
Well,
did you reach out to Saakashvili? Did you reach out to the Georgian president and tell him,
yes.
stop this, we got to figure this out?
We have been trying to urge them for the past few years that, first of all, he needs to sign a non-use of force agreement between South Ossetians, and we were telling him that it would be crazy to launch a military operation. In fact, he has been swearing at every corner that he had no such intention, but in fact, this is exactly what he did, apparently hoping that a small victorious war would be good for his political image.
You know, there's so many different ways, and words do matter in a case like this. I've been reading the reports from you and others on the Russian side saying, look, this is nothing more than a peacekeeping mission, and yet many who follow this are saying, really, this is an all-out military aggression. No. Which is it, sir?
Now it has turned out into a peacemaking operation, and unfortunately, the Georgians are still present and fighting on the South Ossetian territory. In order for this tragedy to end, they must pull out of the territories they have occupied in the past few days, out of South Ossetia.
You just said they must pull out. So are you essentially here on the air on CNN saying that unless they pull out of South Ossetia, your troops will remain there?
Exactly.
We thank you, sir, for taking us time to take us through your version of events. We appreciate it. Peacemaking operation, he says. Well, one more base to cover on this one, and it's a response from President Bush. He's calling for both sides to now stand down, but he says that Russia has used disproportionate force, his word, in this fight. The vice president also weighing in tonight, Dick Cheney. He said Russia's aggression must not go unanswered and that its continuation would have serious consequences for its relation with the United States. Dick Cheney speaking just a few hours ago. Despite the battles on the ground, there was a moment of sportsmanship and camaraderie between the enemies at the Olympic Games today. Russia's silver medalist put her arm around Georgia's bronze medal winner, both from these warring countries. This is after their 10-meter air pistol final. And then the rivals kissed each other on the cheek. Do we have that picture as well? There it is. By the way, China was the one that took the gold, ironically enough, in that event. Coming up, I'm going to give